Hello and welcome to Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 437, recorded August 12th, 2023. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I'm your cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you have seen my show, what we talk about on our show are cybersecurity awareness tips that you could use to protect yourself, your friends, and your family, folks, from cyber crimes, one of the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. I would like to thank everyone who's been following us on our show here on YouTube and as well as on WWDBTV. Our visitors are from around the world, and I also want to give a shout out to all my students at DeVry University and now Texas A&E. I'll also be teaching there as well. You can find out more about my company and what I do by going to my website at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. In today's show, we're going to discuss cybersecurity and the threat of AI and how it affects one of the biggest industries in our nation, and that is our legal industry. We're going to talk about ChatGPT and how there are some things that we need to discuss. But the best way to discuss this, like I've always done on the show, I want to bring on expert interviewers, people that are experts in the industry. And this week, folks, I have a doozy for you. I have two great experts to talk about the legal industry. They are attorneys, Sam Warner and Eric Bromson. We're going to talk about cybersecurity and how it affects the industry of law. And of course, at the end, of course, like I do every week, we'll talk about what you can do to protect yourself from these types of cyber crimes. So, folks, recently, there was an incident in New York City involved a New York lawyer who used unethically ChatGPT to draft legal briefs, raising critical questions about the integrity of artificial intelligence, AI, in the professional environment. This underscores the urgency to address AI ethics, compliance, and responsibilities, applications within the business and legal communities. So, folks, we've talked about this on our show several times before, how AI has been used in a way to replace the mundane operations and tasks that we do in business, like writing letters, research, and such and so forth. But now, without vetting this type of technology properly, AI can be used unchecked. And now there's talk of having additional AIs created to test other AIs. So now we have the battle of the robots, but not the Rock'em Sock'em robots, folks. This is called AI robots. I have a story to emphasize this, and then we're going to introduce our attorneys after our break. But from our first story comes from Fox 5 News out of Washington, D.C.
Lawyers in New York are under fire for citing fake court cases created using the ChatGPT app. AI is becoming more popular amongst lawyers, and generally a lot of professions are using it. Breaking down what happened with the New York lawyers and the influx of ChatGPT in our workplaces, Bloomberg Law reporter Justin Wise. Justin, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Justin, this case is wild, right? So we kind of expected with the launch of ChatGPT and these other AI models that there's going to be a lot of issues, a lot of glitches in the system with ChatGPT. That's maybe not going to be actually accurate. Talk to us about what happened with these lawyers. They clearly cited cases using ChatGPT that were not real.
Right. So for a little context, this is a case that involved a man whose knee was struck with a metal serving cart during a flight from El Salvador to New York. He claimed it caused serious injuries. He files a lawsuit seeking damages. The airline responds by filing a motion to dismiss, saying the statute of limitations had expired. This prompted the plaintiff's lawyer to file an opposition to that defense. All normal process for litigation. And in that opposition, they cited 6 similar cases to bolster that argument. But the judge could find no evidence that those cases existed. And as you mentioned, it turns out the plaintiff's lawyer had used the generative AI tool ChatGPT, and ChatGPT had actually invented those cases. The lawyer last week admitted that he had consulted it during his research and had not factored in the fact that it actually could have been false. He's now facing potential sanctions by the court, which could be handed down as soon as next week.
Absolutely consequential actions there when you don't fact check this. I mean, I think, listen, this technology is incredible. I think it's fascinating. I think it can elevate us in so many ways, but I think it can be also very dangerous. And we have to be careful because at the end of the day, it is technology and it can maybe backfire on us. What can people do, as a lot of professions are using this technology, to make sure that they are actually getting the right information, or at least that they're not hurting themselves in this way?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good question. And of course, this is an extreme example, but especially as it relates to the legal profession, which I write about, I think when I was speaking with a lot of leaders and experts in this field, it was an example of a larger story of the advantages and potential drawbacks of this new technology, and how we're going to probably be navigating over the next couple of years how we can use it in good ways and the ways in which it needs to be regulated. I think regulation, of course, is going to be a really interesting storyline to follow as it relates to this, because as you mentioned, it's very powerful. It can do a lot of things to help lawyers and a lot of different white-collar professionals. So it's a matter of figuring out how the right ways to use it. Yeah.
And I feel because there is this technology out there, I wonder if judges and court officials are going to have to kind of go back and revisit some I don't know, documents to kind of fact check everything. Do you think in a way it's going to make jobs harder?
Interesting point you bring up. Actually, just yesterday, district court in Texas issued an order requiring lawyers to certify whether ChatGPT is being used as a tool to help them in their work. I think one thing that is important to note, especially as it relates to lawyers, is they have rules in place to be competent, to check your work. That this is no different than delegating work to a subordinate, and then if you put your name on something, being responsible for it. So I think there are ways in which, of course, this is brand new technology, but of course, being responsible for your work is not anything new, right?
Yeah, and listen, you're a reporter. Students are using this. Reporters are using this. It's a good tool, but it's a good reminder for all of us that if you're using it, you have to take it with a grain of salt too, and fact check exactly what you are doing and writing, and with essays or reporting or whatnot. So, Justin Wise, it was a good warning for all of us to just be a little bit more conscious about things. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So as you can see, folks, there is definitely an increased interest in understanding the roles and responsibility of all of us using technology like ChatGPT to answer questions for us and to create laws. We're going to discuss that with two attorneys I have for you right after this break, folks. We'll be right back.
With our award-winning patented Ultimate 3-in-1, packed wrinkle-free in our innovative garment bag, generous duffel, and all-purpose day pack for incredible versatility. Experience easy wrinkle-free packing with quick access to travel essentials. Exclusively ours, an extension pocket for longer items or additional storage. Avoid check-in fees and lost luggage with our patented wraparound garment bag and duffel for a single carry-on. Easily hang the garment bag at your destination and use our duffel as a pop-up drawer. Back at home, the duffel and garment bag fold neatly into the day pack for compact storage. Travel smarter and simpler with Ultimate Luggage.
Hello, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. And folks, I am really honored to have two guests here on our show to talk about AI technology. I'd like to welcome Sam Warren.
Hi, nice to be here today.
Yeah, very good, very good. And Eric Bromson. How you doing, Eric?
Great, Mac. How about yourself?
All right, yes. So what we're going to talk about today is the video that we basically seen discussing what happened to the attorney that used ChatGPT for their court briefs. And I want to get your opinion on it, because I tell my audience all the time, I talk about this on our show, but I tell my audience I want to bring in professionals to discuss how technology can affect their business. So basically I want to have you on today to discuss how technology like ChatGPT and others can be used for the good and the bad, and a little bit of future stuff too we'll talk about. So what do you think about the case of the New York attorney?
I mean, as a personal injury attorney, I know that drafting and doing legal research and legal writing is probably our least favorite part of the job. But he should have at least done his due diligence and reviewed everything, especially on facing a motion to dismiss for violating a statute of limitations, which, as a plaintiff's PI attorney, is the ultimate in whammos.
Wow, absolutely. Now, what do you think about that, Sam?
Yeah, I actually practice in probate and estate planning, which I do a lot less court appearances than maybe a PI attorney will do. And for that reason, I don't necessarily always enjoy the legal research. It is the most mundane part of the job. And so to have a technology that can help get us pointed in the right direction and moving forward is very, very great. But you got to make sure that it is actually saying what it's supposed to say and providing the legal backing that actually is the legal backing. That's everything that we talk about in law school, is make sure you have a backup for what you've done.
Correct.
And is it correct? Right. Does it say what it's supposed to say? And does the case that you have actually say what you're trying to use it to say? And if it doesn't exist, it's obviously not going to say. You can make it say whatever you want.
Incredible. So shouldn't he done his due diligence, this attorney done his due diligence after he got his document brief back to verify, maybe spot check even a couple of those citations to see if they were even legitimate, and if found one that's false, now we could say this whole thing may not be correct, and have to go back and do this whole document over again.
Absolutely. Just even a spot check, like you say, just if you catch one that may not be real and you can't find it anywhere in any database,
right,
you gotta then question, what about the other ones, and look at the rest of them. That due diligence, that document has your signature on it, and as an attorney, you have actually sworn an oath that everything you provide to the court is in candor with the court and going to be, to the best of your knowledge, true and correct and accurate. And if you didn't actually look at that case and put it into and write it into your brief, you don't have that ability to say you actually did it. You actually can say that by that signature.
What do you think, Sam?
I mean, I absolutely agree. Again, it's going back to that he's facing a motion to dismiss for violating statute of limitations. So it's just as if you're hiring a law clerk to do some legal research and writing, you would still have the obligation to review their work, because, as Sam said, that's your bar number on the line. So the sanctions that he faced, I think he actually got off a little easy based upon the severity of his action.
Interesting. So another way this is important, especially for my students out there that are watching this at DeVry University and in the future here with Texas A&E, to look at this, A&M that is, to look at this when we talk about putting in citations, and don't just grab a citation from anywhere. You need to verify it. When you turn in a paper, same thing as when you're in a profession here. You turn in a paper, you make sure that you have vetted and looked at all of the references and make sure they are correct. Because there are times that you will find, especially using technology, you'll get a reference out there and you think it's correct and you haven't vetted or checked it out or anything of that nature. So it's very, very important. You can see an example of that in legal field. So as we look at this, what do you guys think about the future of using AI? Artificial intelligence, for those of you who are not familiar with what we're talking about, artificial intelligence to help you within your legal research. Do you see it being a helpful technology or hindrance?
I actually can see it as something that can be very, very helpful. If anybody who has practiced in the legal field before, or in any field that does anything with writing or anything like that, no one's starting from scratch. No one's drafting everything with a blank piece of paper in front of them. There are going to be certain things that are going to be consistent throughout your drafting in specific types of documents. And so having something that can springboard you to get to the point to a finished product, but just a springboard, not to the actual end product, is going to make things in life maybe less stressful for that profession or that lawyer, but it's going to help maybe alleviate some of the costs as well, because it can get us from point A to point B a little bit faster with some of those initial research pieces.
True. Very, very true. And Sam, for you too, do you use ChatGPT in your business? Eric, do you use ChatGPT in your business?
I don't, but I can definitely see how, piggyback on what Sam was saying, how it could be practical and applicable in both supplementing what I do and allowing me to focus more on the personal injury part, the personal part of personal injury.
Yeah.
And then also even with something like client retaining, if they went on my website, I know a lot of personal injury firms have like a virtual chat already, like, hey, tell us about your case. So to get them as a client, I could definitely see how it would help. But there are still some things that an attorney absolutely must do, like go over the contract and get that rapport with the client, go to trial or go to motions. So it could supplement my job and make the things that aren't necessarily the most enjoyable aspect of being a plaintiff's PI attorney a lot more easy doable, but it won't replace me, that I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not yet. Definitely not yet.
Maybe in 10 years.
He reminded me of something as well. Where we have a case that's going on with a trust, but unfortunately the client that passed away, not our client, but the person that passed away, had actually passed away without putting everything into their trust. And so there was assets that weren't in a trust, and if you don't know what a trust is going to do, it's going to keep you from being able to, it's going to keep you out of court. You don't have to go to the probate court to get everything distributed. Well, in this case, we're going to have to go for at least portions of the assets. And while maybe if we put in the information to create a document, it's going to spit back what we're trying to at least springboard us to that point, but it's not going to be able to analyze all the different aspects of the family members that may be causing issues and the strategy behind how we approach going to court with it versus what would be the most obvious. That may not always be the most obvious choice. And that's where I don't think it's, at least right now, it's not looking at those that I can see.
That would make sense. So eventually, as these databases grow and the data models change, become bigger, faster, stronger, is there a possibility that trust law and PI law as well can be adjudicated using AI?
Adjudicated
as far as getting, I don't know about adjudication.
In front of a judge, like we were talking about at lunch today, if the document's created, can a judge, maybe the AI is a judge now too, maybe.
I mean, so if the judge is AI, well, who's the attorneys appearing in front of him? Like, how outside the box are we thinking, I guess? How far is this AI going to go? I still think we're ultimately going to need attorneys to try cases, attorneys to make court appearances. I don't think the judge, I mean, a judge has to make a decision. Right. And it's based on the law, but it's also based on the facts. So whether AI is going to advance enough to replicate human thought process, I don't necessarily know that it will.
Interesting.
We have an interesting thing going on in the probate court where we now have a new commissioner that hears most of the probate cases. Prior to earlier in this year, we had a commissioner who retired, and most of the probate attorneys kind of knew on specific fact patterns how he was going to rule because he'd been on the bench for so long. And now with a new one, some of these things that we have been doing in the past aren't going through the same way that they used to, because now you have another person. It's another human that's looking at things. Not that it's an incorrect interpretation of it either. Sure. It's just the way he's implementing his practices into the courtroom.
Man, I see code as a programmer. I see code all around that. So why can an AI be that new administrator coming in with a different way of practice, having it as a robot to do it, based upon the experience that it's collected from years of briefs, years of cases that's in its databases?
I'm going to make a comment based upon that.
Sure.
So in civil court, there are, 38, 40 different judges, and there are 40 different, it's the same law, but in the same facts, but you can get 40 different decisions. So on your thought process, Mac, it could potentially bring uniformity to decisions.
Uniformity.
Yeah.
And now we're talking the political game. Uniformity, utilitarianism, the whole political part of it now. Uniformity, okay, interesting.
Because I know the first thing, I've got this motion, and the first thing that when I'm talking with my colleagues is who's it in front of. So if it's in front of Judge A versus B, you're going to get potentially two completely different rulings based upon the same facts and the same law, just how they interpret it.
Interesting.
So,
subjectiveness as well.
Subjectiveness.
Yeah, interesting. So that brings the next question. It has something that's affected our country right now, and that is the strike that's going on with the motion picture industry, right? The writers and the actors. One of the issues I understand they are fighting for is their rights to let writers write and not let AI take over the writing. So there's been a lot to talk about that. So the whole idea is that the AI bot can actually replace an actor, right? We've seen examples of it with avatars, having the chats or chat-like robots play the roles of actors where you don't need the actors anymore. What is your thought on that? What do you think about that? Do you think that's something that will happen, or is that we're doing the right thing now and striking it and letting the people know that this is the type of technology that we should be warning each other?
Well, I mean, in our profession, I know lawyers are excellent at self-preservation as far as preserving their own jobs and trying to not allow paralegals or whatever to fill out forms. So I think as a profession, for our profession, we probably will not allow an AI bot to take the bar exam and practice law.
Right.
We'll probably try to do anything and everything to avoid that.
So do you hear the rumor that AI chat took the bar exam and passed in one of the states?
I did hear that.
That was in Idaho, right? Just kidding. Apologies to the people, the attorneys in Idaho. They're fantastic people.
Yeah. That's really crazy. Chat that an AI robot can actually do that. But we're coming to that point where the subjectiveness, as you mentioned, the different judges may have different ways on a ruling. If you had a uniformity with an AI based upon all the judges' previous rulings on cases, now you have a one system that can do that for society. Is that good or bad?
Well, I think it can be good, but it can also be bad, because I think a lot of the advances we've made as a civilization has come from bucking the precedents.
Right.
And so if there isn't that way, ChatGPT, unless you're able to program that in somehow with changing societal norms, right? So we had all these fights, the civil rights movements and a lot of different things that were bucking the trend. Correct. They were completely opposite of any of the precedents of any other case that came before them.
That's right.
Based off of where we were at as a society at that point, and flipping the script and saying, well, this may have been correct then, this is not the way the law should be anymore, and we're going to change it.
Right.
And we're going to force the legislature to go in and change the law rather than just have it be, instead of waiting for them, because this is just wrong.
Right.
And so just because it's years of precedence and uniformity doesn't mean it's always correct.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. But again, it's based upon laws and subjectiveness, right? How that law is interpreted. Now we have to put our dependence upon having a robot come up with these answers if we allow that to happen. So I think it's important that we talk about these issues and put these issues in front of the public so we'll know about this technology, because it's so fast how it happens. My industry turns new codes like every day. I can tell you there's a new app to do something in our lives for productivity, right? And we just need to make sure that while this is happening, we're able to comment about it. I'm not sure if regulation is the best thing, because usually get government more involved. It's a slow wheel that turns in government and for justice, but for programmers and for hackers, can do it instantly, can make changes surrounding it. So it's good that we're actually talking about these sort of things and to interpret them. So I was also asked you guys earlier, gentlemen, about the evil part of chat. Chat's evil twin. We're talking about worm GPT, right? And that's the negative chat. Because right now the chat bots that are out there, we have from Microsoft, we have Bing, and we have OpenAI. Those are the ones that society looks upon to get data and information. But we also have negative chat that totally doesn't care about PC, being politically correct, rewriting things of history, and it's out there, and it's actually attacking some of the information from regular chats. So now we have the robots fighting each other. Not like the Rock'em Sock'em I mentioned earlier, but the actual robots. We have one chat questioning another chat's work and saying that that's not correct. As a human, which one are we going to believe? The one that has more investment in, that's paid for by investors, or the other one that's done with open source where we're just feeding it information and data? It's interesting thing to think about in the future. How do we fight against that?
Yeah, I mean, you look at that. The first thing that popped into my head is Wikipedia.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? That's the print version
Yes.
of a chat GPT.
Yeah.
Where anybody can go in and source something in there. And
Stranger can go and edit, change the profile of someone's.
yeah.
And who checks it to make sure it's true?
But on that same note, I mean, when there's a hot topic in the news on Wikipedia, they'll close off editing. So that in and of itself is editing. So are the competing chats going to edit each other? I mean,
Good point.
yeah.
And let's bring this full circle here. So what's going on right now? We have Twitter, we have X, that's the new AI now social media, where if you post something, you can get, quote, canceled. Who makes that decision that that post that you've entered is unethical or incorrect or is a violation of a principle of our our company, right? But is it a violation as far as free speech and society in general? So there are chat bots out there that believe that that information should be posted. Even though it could be very, very harmful and disruptive, it's still information that exists.
My thoughts on that are I'm a free speech, First Amendment advocate, so I will absolutely stand up for your right to have whatever opinion you have, and I'll defend it to the ends of the earth, even if I am diametrically opposed to that.
Yeah.
So that's just my personal belief.
And while I believe that same thing as well, I also believe that as an entity or a corporation, I have the right to have the people say things that make me as a corporation look bad and limit that. Because as we know, the First Amendment, that right to free speech is that it's the government that can't infringe upon your right to say anything. It has nothing to do with a private corporation.
It's true.
And so I can, as a corporation, that's why, like the National Basketball Association has a code of conduct. They can stop them from saying certain things or doing certain things, and they can suspend them even though they didn't actually commit a crime or anything that would have actually gotten them in trouble with the law. They can suspend them for that.
Right.
And because it's their right as an entity, as an organization.
As an organization.
Not as a government, but as the organization. So while I'm going to defend their right to say it, I'm not going to defend the consequences that might come from it, from their employment or other things like that.
That's quite interesting. So Twitter and X and all these social media companies, they have their own standards of operation themselves, right? That they can be subjective against a certain tweet or post. That's why we have other ones out there, and I'll mention the name. Rumble is one of them, that you have more freedom of speech in what you want to say. It can offend other people, but it's still freedom of speech, right? And we can choose not to subscribe to these websites or not, and which is fine. But when these sites or bots start to hack, if you would, into society and change information and cause harm, it's something to think about. So what's really interesting about this conversation is that we're testing our Constitution on a daily basis, but now we're using technology to test our Constitution and test our freedoms as well. Yeah, very interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few years. I really believe in the next few years we're going to see a spring up of AI bots that are testing each other. There's AI bots that are going to be funded by corporations and universities to be ethnically correct, versus AI bots that are being paid and hired to attack, to cause havoc. So as humans in our society, we're going to watch these AIs compete against one another, good or bad.
I think I saw that. That was the Terminator, right? Or was
Terminator,
Yeah.
right? What are we? Terminator, Star Trek, and what was the other one? Minority Report.
Yeah.
Minority Report, yeah.
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, we've seen it before. These things have happened. So what do we do? What do we do about it? Any ideas of what you guys may think?
I mean, I know, and I'm not making a political comment or anything. I know Elon Musk had bandied about the idea of, hey, let's put 6 months breaks on this AI stuff because we don't know where it's going, especially since it's exponentially learning
Right.
and growing. And we had this conversation at lunch,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, no AI is going to be able to supplant my job. But maybe in 10 years it might. Hopefully,
Right.
hopefully I'll be retired by then. But I just. We have to, there have to be, and this is going to develop an entire area of law, that the ethics of AI,
Yeah.
and how do we deal with it, allow it to integrate into society, but not harm society, not put people out of work,
Correct.
not, make stuff up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's mind-boggling, actually.
Absolutely. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing this. Like, in fact, at my office, we were actually discussing ChatGPT and the impact that it could have on a transactional style law firm,
Right.
where we're drafting documents that are meant to last you for several years before you do anything with them, or before they're ever going to be needed, like a trust or a will. If you've practiced at any time in probate law, you'll know that people try to draft their own documents all the time,
yeah.
and I'll get them in my office, and even though they're trying to get out of going to probate court, they've made so many bungles in it because they don't understand the law,
Right.
and they've made contradictory clauses within their same document, and now we have to go, okay, court, we don't know what to do here. We have two ways that we can do it. They're both there, but we don't know what to do now. And please let us know. We'll do whatever you say. Whichever one you say is the right way to go. And the problem that we get into there with probate law and trusts and wills is we have to try to determine what is the intent of that person. But unfortunately, the only one that can tell us what the intent of that person is the person that's died. And so we have to try to figure out what their intent is directly with the words that they've used, and if it's contradictory, which one did they really want?
And AI can possibly help with that, maybe?
Possibly, maybe.
There's a science fiction story on Netflix called Black Mirror, if you ever seen Black Mirror, and they talk about this situation of a person passing away, and they wanted to have an AI pretend to be the other person. So they want the person's soul and spirit. So what they did is they scanned every YouTube video, every email message, every social media post, history of the person, their genetics, their DNA, and came up with a robot to be this person. So maybe in the future, in the industry of law, you may have what would the person really want that's passed based upon, again, a precedent.
All of their history from beforehand.
Sounds like science fiction, but so did the flip phone back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question of what happens in the future. And we're talking about it, which is good, rather than all of a sudden Monday morning it's here, and we had no discussion of this sort of thing or any awakening of this type of technology. Very interesting. Same in PI worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I just think from our perspective, like having that personal connection with the client is paramount to what I do. Like getting them to, follow my advice, and we should file on this, or we should take this offer, or even getting them to trust you that those decisions that you're advising, they're going to make. I just don't see that AI can replicate that. But again, we're at the very beginning of the AI arc, and I have no idea where this is going to go in 10, 15, 30 years.
Well, maybe the answer is like what you said, it's the human element to all of this. Just like we had lunch today, right? We got together, we talked about this, and we had a human interaction. It wasn't like two AI bots decided to talk and come up with content for the show. Maybe we, as humans, should go back to that or emphasize the idea of the human interaction. You know, pick up the phone and say, hello, it's me, how you doing? Let's meet, let's have a handshake. Where the robots and AI won't be able to do that sort of thing yet until they become Sentinel and like Terminator, right?
Yeah. Well, and with trust, we, people can put in information, and we get questionnaires. We have them fill out questionnaires that give us information about their assets and who they are and kind of what their thoughts and what they'd want to do. But it's limited to what they're able to put down in words and on a piece of paper. So we'll sit down with them and we have a conversation about what their actual goals are. Do they have a family member that might be really bad with money? Like a child that's just bad with money, a child that has vices that they want to try to protect them so they don't just blow up all of their inheritance on these vices that are harder to put down on a piece of paper for us without meeting with them.
Right.
We get to know that because we'll talk about different concepts, and then they'll bring something up because it jogged their memory. And then we're able to apply that into what we're drafting for them.
Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a good way. And again, that's the personal.
It's the personal.
Yes, the personal, human factor. So we'll end the segment by bringing it this way. And maybe we all concur in this part of it, that one of the ways to combat against the bad GPTs or AIs out there is to remember who we are. We are humans, right? We're people. It's a people process, right, that we need to talk to, keep them close to our friends and neighbors and talk about these issues. Being a part of it in our practices as well. Sound good, gentlemen?
I agree
with that wholeheartedly.
All right, very good. All right, well, I want to thank our guests for being with us, but we're going to come back in our next segment, and boy, this next segment is going to be great because we're all members of an organization called BNI, the Strategic Alliance Group here in Las Vegas, and we're going to talk about our businesses, and I'd like to have my guests talk about their businesses and how they are helping Southern Nevada and their community here. We'll be back, folks, after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back.
Hi everybody, Aaron Phillips here, inviting you to join me every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. right here on Worldwide Digital Broadcasting TV on my show, Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips. I bring to you the movers and shakers of Las Vegas and really all around the world. It's also fun, entertaining, silly, goofy, informative, everything you'd want to be entertained by on a Saturday, except no politics, no religion. As I said, it's designed to be a fun show. Remember, that's every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, right here, Aaron's Hour, Worldwide Digital Broadcasting TV.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Warriors TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. And with me today as my guest, Sam Warren, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Right. Eric Bromson, how you doing?
What's going on, Mac? I'm good.
Right. So in this segment, we're going to talk about how we know each other. And we basically know each other because we are with an organization called BNI, Business Network International, the Strategic Alliance, the local chapter here in Las Vegas, where businesses get together and we promote each other's business and talk about ways that we can refer clients to our organization for each other. So in this segment, I would like to have each of our gentlemen here to talk about their business and just basically talk about some of your favorite clients in your company. We want to keep this very, very, lighthearted here, but still want to promote your company, your business here. So we'll start first with Eric.
Okay, thanks, Mac. My name is Eric Bromson. I am a plaintiff's personal injury attorney here in town. I've been practicing since 2008. I work with the law office of Jason Barris. I've been doing plaintiff's personal injury since 2010. I speak fluent Spanish. I'm also licensed to practice in the state of Texas. And I also do some litigation as well in the firm. I practice other areas of law before honing in on plaintiff's personal injury. So I'm in my 13th year doing that. And I've been a member of BNI for about 8 months now.
8 months now.
Yeah.
Very good. So tell the audience about one of your favorite type of cases, right? What that gets you excited about your job?
The favorite type of case, I guess, I do like the slip and falls because, how do I say this? A lot of firms don't take them, number one. We're very picky, choosy about which cases we take because the laws are very favorable to the businesses rather than to the injured clients. I do like the slip and falls also because you actually have to impart some knowledge on the client the most in that one, because clients, the general public just kind of thinks, oh, I went into Smith's or 99-cent store and I fell and I got injured, they need to pay me. And it's really not like that. You have to prove that they actually had notice or they should have had notice. So those are good cases. And then they're awesome. I mean, they're good cases too because generally people get really injured when they fall, and their medical bills are high. A lot of times they don't have health insurance to actually get the treatment, so they come to us, we help them out, we refer them to doctors, they get good medical treatment, and then hopefully at the end of the day there's some settlement money. And I've been able to put life-changing amounts of settlement money in various clients' pockets, so that's a good feeling.
Good, yeah, see, that's a good one. Like that. Sam, how about you?
Yeah, well, my name is Sam Warren, and I work with the law firm John Park Law. We are an estate planning and probate law firm, along with guardianship and some business law as well. But as far as what I focus my practice on is the estate planning, probate, and guardianship. As my kids like to say, I plan for people's deaths, and then I work with them after they've passed away. And that's how they explain my job to their friends. But one of the big things, I've been a member of BNI for about 2 years now, about to enter my third year in it. But one of the big things that I face with my job is making sure that people understand that estate planning isn't just for the rich. That's what most people think about when they hear estate planning, is people that have lots of money trying to avoid paying taxes. And yes, that is a part of it, but it's not what most people need. If you own a house, if you have minor children, doing estate planning is very, very important, because we don't know what the future holds. And that's what estate planning is for, is preparing for the unknown. The unfortunate demise is always going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Is it sooner or later? Do you still have minor children? One of the biggest things that I hate having to do, but because it's unnecessary, is there'll be a divorced family, mother and father. They have minor children, they have life insurance, and they name their children as the beneficiary. And then, as unpredictable as life is, that parent passes away. The child is under 18. They can't actually make a claim to the money. So the other parent has to go in and get a guardianship. And it could be a substantial amount of money. It could be a $400,000, $500,000 policy or more. And then once that child, it gets set into a blocked account for their benefit until they turn 18. As soon as they turn 18, they can go to the bank, terminate that they go to the court, terminate the guardianship. That money is theirs, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. And so they could come into $400,000 or $500,000 at 18, And if we all know how 18-year-olds are, they're going to blow that money pretty fast.
Yeah, makes sense. Wow, very, very interesting. Will our audience, how can I get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm available all the time through email. My email is sam@johnparklawfirm.com. You can also call our office at 702-857-7879.
Very good. Eric, same thing with you. How do audience get a hold of you?
Yeah, office phone is 702-550-6500. My personal cell, 949-413-1266. And you could get a hold of me at erik@jasonbarruslaw.com, JASONBARRUSLAW.com.
Very good. And folks, and just a little bit about my company, if you guys haven't heard, I'm a cybersecurity consultant. So if you have issues relating to your business, you want to make sure that your policies and procedures are hardened, strengthening your understanding of cybersecurity awareness for your organization, definitely contact me at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. Guys, I want to thank you for being my guest today on my show. Looking forward to having you guys again.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes,
Thanks for
absolutely.
the opportunity, Mac.
Yes, thanks again. But that's it, folks, for our show today. Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson. Stay tuned, folks, for next week. We'll have a great show for you then. #StayCyberWoke. Catch you then.